Zest is in, where resilience begins, not fixing the cracks.
Hello everyone and welcome to Zest is in with me, Shel Marie, the podcast that will take you on a journey from the hustle to the harmony, fueling your passion whilst finding your peace. Today I am super excited for you I'm super excited for you to meet my guest, Francesca Blechner. She is I do not know what is going on with my words today. Nervous system, which is interesting that we're talking about that as I'm trying to get my words out. A nervous system mentor, author and guide for high achieving leaders ready to lead from embodiment, not burnout. Through her powerful nervous system archetypes and somatic wisdom, I'm excited to know more about that. She helps people reconnect with their essence, dissolve stress patterns, and expand their capacity to thrive with presence and purpose, and much, much more. I am super excited to have this conversation with her. And if you feel called, please share a little love by subscribing. It costs you absolutely nothing, but helps amplify incredible voices like Francesca's today to reach many more hearts and minds. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And may this episode bring you grounded clarity, embodied confidence, and gentle permission to slow down, which I probably need to saying this intro. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you. Wow, thanks for the beautiful intro, Shel.
You are so welcome. And just thinking about that, I guess one thing I would love your perspective on, actually, that I think we've got to be careful with our choice of words, but I don't know why, but the word battling with seems to come up. So let's just go for that, even though, words do hold power, and we'll just use that word for now. So what I found was prior to kind of diving down the spiritual loophole and rabbit holes, whatever you call it, and starting to learn about frequencies and things like that, and vibrations and high vibrational and etc. I used to be someone that very much wore all my emotions on my sleeve, and if I wanted to cry, I cry, and people are like, oh my gosh, and it was almost uncontrollable, no sense of consciousness or awareness of the way I was responding all the time. And that's a really good point, reacting to life just instantly and almost feeling like I had no control. Whereas then what I found, and I feel like there's a reason why I want to bring this up with you, is because then when I went down the spiritual kind of route of, not saying I'm spiritual now, but just dabbling into all different things and modalities, and obviously the somatic work and things like that, I feel like there's this pressure then of the what vibration you're in and what frequency you're holding, and then I noticed I very much, even though I know I need to let things come through me and come out because we shouldn't suppress things, I noticed that there's this underlining guilt because I remember back of, but because I like to stay in high vibration, I like to stay in joy, happy, vibrancy. And I noticed that then, even though I'm conscious of it, I kind of give myself a hard time then when I am allowing naturally for tears to come, or when life feels a little bit out of control or unpredictable, and we know it's a story we're creating in our mind. But I noticed that I then give myself a hard time, even though I know afterwards I feel so much more better for letting it out. So I would love your perspective on that.
Oh, I love this. This is very juicy, because the thing is, we are here to experience the whole spectrum of emotions. We're here to experience the human experience, yes. Right? And so if we start to label emotions, emotion, when you break down the word, is energy in motion. If we start to label them as that's positive and that's negative,
yes,
what's happening is what you suppress expresses. I think it's quite a lot in the spiritual community. If they only go into vibration, we are all energy vibrating, and frequency matters, but you can't bypass what you feel. You can't outthink what you feel. And so if we let go of judgment of, well, that's bad, I shouldn't feel that, it's going to bite you, come back and bite you anyway.
Yes.
Later down the line, because again, what you suppress expresses and what you resist persists. And so what happens then is that creates disembodiment, because your body can't lie.
Yeah.
You know, so what we want to actually work with is expand your capacity, because that's going to expand your frequency, it's going to expand your energetic field. Because otherwise what happens, and this is one of my archetypes, is spiritual escapist, is there's many people, and I can understand why, the human experience is challenging, right? Being on earth is challenging, especially at this time. There's a lot of intensity and revelation, right? Disclosure. So it's an intense time. Being human is challenging. But if we stay in the upper realm, the higher realms, and not in our earth body, then that's another form of disassociation.
Yes.
Another form of disconnection. It's avoidance behavior. So actually our power lies in opening the whole bandwidth. So being connected to our intuition, we can be connected to the spiritual, but we can also be like grounded into our body with that open channel, able to move through and integrate the emotions, to integrate the hard stuff. And that is actually what really raises your vibration anyway, because you're expanding your capacity as in the human experience.
Thank you so much. And even as you say all this, and it's interesting because I've been having this kind of conversation with my friend recently of, again, it's almost like, that was so beautifully explained, by the way, but it's almost like we then turn into this, rather than it being us anymore, we're almost watching like a character and going, okay, well, I see, you know, this is just this right now, and this will come, and I agree, it feels very disconnected, but equally, this is why I think it's so important, like what content you're listening to and what you're believing, because again, what you tell yourself, because you can easily start getting lost in that, like, oh, but if I'm always feeling like this, then I'm going to attract more of it, and yeah, I just feel like sometimes actually the more you know sometimes isn't always a person. And obviously that again is a very powerful affirmation that's being put out, and it depends on what you know. But I just think sometimes I have to constantly, particularly now, be like, give yourself some love, give yourself some compassion, give yourself some grace. Because if I'm like this, and I'm not going into the gender, like but I do feel it's harder for men. So if I'm like this as a female now, kind of a conscious female who's giving, now almost reverted back to being, you know, in that flow of allowing, and then now kind of being like, no, right, this is right, you've cried now, enough. I can't even begin to think what men are like, conscious men are like with themselves, because I noticed I can be very hard on myself sometimes.
Yeah, and this is it. It's like letting go of, oh, this is bad that I'm feeling this. I'm feeling, you know,
because you're labeling again, aren't you? That's what you just said.
Yeah. Do you know what? I'll share something. You know, when my dad passed about 6 years ago, it was an unexpected passing, so it was like a real shock to the system. And given the tools that I have and what I know, I allowed myself, because I know what happens when you don't allow yourself to feel, and how that stays in your system, in your nervous system. And so I was so grateful for kind of the literacy of my own body and how it was speaking, that somatic wisdom ultimately, that I said to myself, I'm going to make friends with grief. I'm making friends with grief. And honestly, every time I fell into that and I allowed myself to really feel grief and let it move through me, I felt more powerful. I was calling back like more of my power came online. Like it expanded me. You know, they say because it's the heart, right? That's why we grieve. We feel grief because there's love. And actually what was happening was my heart, the grief, it was deep, but every time I allowed myself to feel the grief, it also, my heart expanded. So you have to change the context of things, you know.
Wow.
Integrate.
Even in you just saying that though, like what a powerful share for so many people listening, like from all different perspectives, because it's once again almost back to those narratives we tell ourselves. Like if we're going to label grief as something that's, you know, now going to bring all this, that and the other into our lives and cause all this, and you know, like come on now, we are the one physically creating that and telling ourselves that. Whereas there's power in you saying no. Do you know what? And I'm sorry to use your dad as an example, and thank you so much for sharing that, but I love my dad. I love my dad so much that he deserves me to really feel how I'm feeling right now for him. And that is so much, like I feel like shivers even saying that, because like regardless of how awake and how conscious or whatever, you know, that's a connection with a person you had and still have an incredible bond with. So no, absolutely not. Like would you say that to a child? No. You would allow a child to really feel how they're feeling and give them that time. And I think I thank you so much for sharing that so openly.
That's okay. So that's it. It's really just a reframe, isn't it? Like, because what if actually if we allowed ourselves to feel it all from an embodied space as well, so that we're not like completely fragmented and stay in collapse or in shutdown, then what if we reframed it as like every time that happens, on the other side you're opening your bandwidth, you're opening your capacity, and on the other side of that is more joy, is more love. So it's really about like, okay, you're here as humans with spiritual beings, right? And we're here we're having a human experience, but if we're only like if our bandwidth is only here, I'm only gonna like tap into the higher, you know, states of consciousness because that's good, then we're still not experiencing the whole bandwidth.
Exactly.
When we experience a whole bandwidth, you show up, or you just become more embodied, and actually more of your power comes online. That's my belief. There's more space. We're more integrated, and then there is more of love. There is more of joy, actually.
100%. And as you even explained that, what really like vividly came to my mind is in almost wanting to be constantly in those like higher vibrations, as they're labeled as, in consciousness, because we are almost disconnected. We're actually very disconnected to others as well, because how can then we give that empathy and that love and that compassion if we're not really allowing ourselves to feel it? So I obviously, like you know, people have different perspectives on that, but that's what really came to my mind then, because again, like, I remember I was someone that was so open, like what I said, like with my emotions, that someone would tell me something really traumatic that happened, even with you sharing about your dad, and I would feel it like it happened to me. I would really feel all your pain, and I was so open in that sense and unaware that then when I learned how to not be like that anymore, to hold space and to be empathetic still, but not carry that emotion and that feeling as if it's happened to me, I guess there was almost a disconnect that happened, because then it would almost be like people would really tell me things that, you know, are really hurting their heart, and again, it was almost, it went a bit stoic in the sense of just, oh yeah, be a pillar, don't absorb, but you know, listen but don't, you know. And I remember, so now as I'm actually thinking about it, we've just constantly got to be questioning ourselves and our behaviors and how we're showing up, because yes, of course, you know, like even on this now, if every time someone unfortunately told me a traumatic thing that happened in their life, I'm just crying all the time, people are not going to want to watch this podcast, you know. It's going to be like, okay, this is a bit too intense, like. But equally, we need love, we need compassion, we need empathy for that other person. We need to be able to relate to how they felt and how they're feeling while holding space, not just be robotic with it. And I think it's so thank you for bringing that up.
No worries. But also, if you're an empath or someone who's very, you know, highly sensitive, and which most people who get into some kind of soul-led work or kind of, you know, in the healing kind of practices or arts, tend to be that they usually have to walk that path at some point where they realize that
one end to the other to find the balance.
They're holding everybody else's stuff because you're not, even if you're naturally empathetic, you'll feel it. But that's where that, you know, coming back into your body, your space, groundedness, and I guess being able to feel what's yours and what's not theirs.
Yes. Because that's so important what you've just said, because I literally thought everything was mine, like, and as like people will know from being empathic, often so much is gathered in information beyond the words and the expressions of the people in the environment, and then because you feel that, and you kind of sometimes not meaning to, but you might say something like, are you sure you're okay? Because you feel it. And then that often can also be a very triggering thing, because then people feel very exposed and naked, because they're like, but how? Because I'm smiling right now. Of course I'm fine. Why? And so there was a lot of navigating. But I like to think everything's a process, but I have more of a balance of that now.
And it's the path to walk, isn't it?
Absolutely, and it's ongoing. Keep showing up every day, everyone. Just keep going, okay? And even, you know, like today you might feel this emotion, like clearly today with the way we started the podcast, that there's a reason probably by the day that I've had so far that came out, but I believe it's for a reason and people needed to hear it. And then you could have got me on another day and that probably wouldn't have even surfaced. Would have been in completely different consciousness, vibration. And I think that's also the beauty, isn't it, of having these unscripted, just in the moment, really raw and real conversations. And I know that definitely always puts me very vulnerable on the line of almost, again, showing completely how I'm feeling right now. But I'm happy to be that, you know, I'm happy to speak my truth in that moment in order to help others. So I really
and that's beautiful. That's flow, isn't it? That's the organic unfolding of unscripted podcast.
Absolutely. So I know you touched on it a little bit, but I'd love you to share a little bit more about the archetypes. I'm really intrigued.
So I created these, what's called the nervous system archetypes, and they link, there's 7 of them, and they link to the different nervous system states. And there are 4 or 5 different nervous system states. So you have the states of overdrive, and the archetypes that are linked to that are Mr. Hyper Independent. So the one who is always, you know, extreme self-reliance. They don't trust anyone and find it very hard to receive support. So they often, you know, do everything themselves, and then often that leads to burnout. Or they always trying to control everything, because they know if they do everything themselves, then like it's going to work, rather than like allow anyone else to help or receive. Then you've got the armor. So the armor is very kind of the wall up around the heart, armored, emotionally armored, because they always have to be strong. You know, the emotional safety, vulnerability was never it was never demonstrated for them, probably as a child. So they learn at some point to kind of have this armor, be the strong one, and they find it like intimacy will be quite hard, relationships will be like quite difficult to find that connection at an emotional level, because there's like this wall, but really underneath they deeply desire to be loved and give love. Then you have the go hard or go home, and this is the kind of archetypes who are like full on intense with everything that they do. It's like, yeah, I'm going to work hard, I'm going to play hard, I'm going to train hard. And they're often like beasting it in the gym with the HIIT training, and they're bulldozing through their tasks. So these three archetypes, and they have different sort of, you know, personality traits that I've kind of discovered. But they all link to the state of overdrive and that fight and flight. So it's like adrenaline, stress hormones, and they thrive off adrenaline and cortisol to kind of get through their day. Now these archetypes, they keep going at that overdrive, leads to burnout, but they're the archetypes that don't realize that they're burnt out because they're so used to just pushing and driving forward.
They think it's like their natural state. They're just used to that way of regulating themselves.
Yes, and it will come at a cost. Now I find most entrepreneurs and leaders tend to fall into this category because you have to be very self-driven. If you're running your own business, you tend to do things ourselves and not want anyone else to kind of
my baby.
Like if you have a team, it's like, oh no, I can't give that over. So they tend to be in that category. So it has its pros in that it's been great to get their business going at some point, but at some point it will come to at a cost unless they make some changes, because you can't continue to go through life with the foot on the pedal, the foot on the gas, as they say for the Americans, the foot on the gas all the time, right? So then the body that ends up they tend to hold a lot of tension in the jaw, the neck and the shoulders, the diaphragm, the psoas. They're really in quite survival go. So that's those ones. Then we have fawn. Fawn is like please and appease. So the archetype of the people pleaser is in fawn, where they learn to manage their external environment to keep safe, to avoid conflict, and it's, you know, relational. So this social relations, it's like, well, if I keep everybody happy, then I'll be okay. You know, I'm not in the way, I'm safe. So these are learned behaviors that often stem again from childhood. Maybe they were like the parenting, the parent, or they're the peacekeeper or the rescuer in the family. So, you know, this is very prevalent in women as well. Women are often, you know, told, don't get angry, don't express your emotion, just like keep the peace, just keep the peace and
be a good girl.
Be a good girl, exactly. So the fawn is again, it's over time that's exhausting, because they're constantly the energy is all up here as well. It's not grounded in their body. So areas that often present somatically is around the throat, the neck and shoulders. A lot of throat issues, because the throat is about speaking. It's about expressing, speaking your truths, expressing your boundaries. They're not fully inhabiting their body as well. So that's what I work with people, you know, helping them to really take up space in body. And then we have the freeze patterns, and the freeze patterns are, I'm trying to remember, the spiritual escapists, which we spoke a little bit about, and the avoidant. So these archetypes, they are not they're not really in their body. They're kind of disconnected, disassociation, they've checked out a little bit, and that's a coping mechanism to not feel. Okay, so as we were speaking about, being on Earth is quite challenging, and sometimes that's been a safety mechanism to not feel the challenges of this lifetime is to not be in the body.
Yeah.
So they'll disconnect, they'll disassociate, and learned behaviors then tend to go on to addictions, because addictions are really in essence to feel something, because they're not feeling.
Yeah, because they feel numb. Yeah,
they're numb. So that's a freeze pattern: numb, collapse, shut down. It's actually what's called the parasympathetic nervous system of immobilization. Wow. So there's parasympathetic, which is rest, heal, digest, we want that, we want that relaxation and healing. Then there's parasympathetic immobilization, which is the life force energy is really suppressed, so they feel like they're not in that rest, heal, digest. It's like there's almost like no low energy to kind of activate, whereas overdrive is like they have this energy, they're just like go
but so very disconnected though, like very all over the place. And so the avoidant is like, they're avoiding their feelings. The spiritual escapist is floating up in the realms, like I'm just not going to be in the body, I'm going to be up here all the time, because it's nice. This is nice and peaceful, but is it life?
And what that links to somatically and health wise is there's links with depression, chronic fatigue, poor circulation, poor digestion and gut health. Because if their energy, their essence is like not in their body, their system becomes very sluggish. Wow. The energy becomes very suppressed and low. So not like digestive system isn't really flowing. What else? Many things. I've got lots of stuff on this. What else? Where else?
Well, do you know what though, darling? I feel like I love all you're expressing, but I always feel like that we should keep a little bit, because if people are interested, they should reach out to you. So please continue sharing what you want to share. Continue sharing what you want to share, but also I always feel like this is your I was going to say your baby, but that's probably the wrong word, but you know what I'm saying. This is the reason why I'm connecting with you today is because you come on and we celebrate you and all you are doing, and if people are interested and curious, they should contact you to break down that.
And I have got a quiz, so people can take a quiz and find out what their dominant archetype is, and it'll give you lots of personalized insights as well.
That was what I was about to ask you, because I could probably at different versions and times of my life relate to all of them that you just said. So would you? So obviously you just said your dominant one, exactly. Because I feel like one could have been very dominant at this point in my life, and then this and this. So I think that. Thank you so much for highlighting that, because and that's the thing that we really need to remember, everyone. Life is a journey, is a process, and again, we're so lucky to connect with incredible women like you that are sharing this. But equally, what you so beautifully expressed right at the beginning, don't start now thinking that's me, because this is the power of the mind, and as you so beautifully expressed, the expressions of the body is what we not only eat, we feed ourselves, as we spoke about so beautifully at the start. We start to believe. So really connect and understand more, but don't become it. Don't assume that is you now. So thank you.
Yes. And to add to that, I mean, the nervous system is a moving landscape.
Beautiful.
So it's always ever changing as we're interacting with life. So what it does is it really, my passion is to increase your body literacy and your own body's wisdom, so you can start to tune into your own body's intelligence and see it as more curiosity. Because you're not defined as these archetypes, It doesn't define you.
Absolutely.
It's like, how interesting. Yeah, that has been dominant in the last maybe few months or a couple of years. That's interesting, because my dominant pattern is to go into overdrive. But I'm a go, and I have burnt out, which is how I got into this work. I burnt out many years ago. So I think a lot of entrepreneurs have a story of burnout.
But this is the thing that I find is the common pattern, not with everyone, but often the lived experience. Like at that time, you're probably not like, oh, I'm this archetype, but through what you experienced and you really felt, and this is important. This is what we're saying, like in a way, and I'm sure there's still, like what you just so beautifully expressed, there's times where you reflect again, but this is what we're saying. Despite your knowledge and your awareness and all that you're doing and all the greatness you're offering to others and the awareness, we still need to be kind to ourselves. We still are on a process, and not everyone is now like, I've mastered that. We don't master anything, and that's where that love and kindness and compassion needs to come back in. So thank you.
Yeah, it's a continual journey. That's it. Life is a ceremony. Life is a ceremony.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just find it so fascinating, and I think it's incredible. And I think that's what I really like that you've mentioned is awareness is key as well, because I feel like with you just explaining that, it felt so grounded to not again like say it's a label, but to have something concrete, something tangible. But without again saying, oh, that's me, but because again, like I guess like even maybe in your process at the time before, really grounding it and really going deep into it, and I guess it felt very like all over the place, very you used a beautiful word earlier of when someone is a people pleaser and it's very scattered or something, but you used a really beautiful word.
Right. When they're a people pleaser, they appease, they manage
when your energy is all over the place. You used a really beautiful word. It doesn't matter, but I just felt like that word in particular really, like, more than like scatter, like even scatter is a good word, but it just felt like, you could really feel it everywhere. But so thank you so much for mentioning that, and that's the whole, I guess the message is, as much as possible, how can you go back into the body? How can you be in the here and the now, and just really flow a little bit more with what's going on, without fighting it, without resisting it. And I've really enjoyed this conversation with you.
Yeah, me too.
And of course, if there's anything else you really feel that you would like to share, that you feel like would really benefit the listeners, like right now, please share it. It's your time, it's your episode.
Yeah, well, I think that was the overview of the archetypes. The only one I missed out was the regulated and flexible. So this is kind of like where, ideally we want our system to kind of sit most of the time, but again, of course, we are meant to experience some stress. Stress is okay. It's when we're there all the time, right? And our nervous system adapts to what's happening in life, so it's not a bad thing. But the regulated and flexible is, again, so enabling you to have that higher capacity, feel the spectrum of all the emotions, and be able to move them through your system. So they are normally they're the kind of people that their relationship with fear is, they don't necessarily freeze in fear or like drive through fear. They'll feel it. They're not detached from fear. They'll feel it, but they still can move through it. Do you see what I mean? So it's not like they don't have stress or they don't have fear. It's like, they have a different relationship in that they're like, I still feel fear, but can move it through your system, they can move it through their system. So their body comes back to what's called the coherence more frequently, as opposed to living in foot on the gas all the time, or like foot on the brake, or sort of oscillating between the two forms.
Yeah.
So they're coming back to more of their coherent. The energy.
I can definitely I can, like, what's coming to mind with that was like public speaking, for example. There's the people that come off the stage that seem like, and then it's almost like there's so much energy there, and it's like everything was just a blur what they've just done, because like maybe they're just so on this high alert. Whereas then you feel the difference when someone comes off and they're grounded and they say, oh, what did you think about the talk? And both kind of could look like they delivered the same, but it's a very different feeling when you connect with them afterwards. And would you say that's like kind of someone could be a bit more dysregulated, whereas someone might be feeling that fear, sweaty palms, nervous, but also really just being kind of in their body, being present and allowing it to go through and just continue. I don't know, that's what just really came to mind.
Yeah, but also what it's good to do, the thing is, if you hang out a bit more in the regulation, you should do things that are outside of your comfort zone, and you should do things, because that's where the growth is.
Yes.
So it's also great if that happens, you know, you've got this like excitement, and it's like, because that is expanding your capacity. So both are neither is wrong. It's just feedback, right? So even that, like I've done that, where if I've done maybe a big talk or something, it's like, and then I come off like sort of high or in this excitement, excitement, that energy is the same. Anxiety or excitement, it's the same kind of energy, frequency. So we can channel it in either way, and that excitement, then that almost opens up a little bit more capacity. Okay, so next time I do a talk to 100 people, so it's not going to feel as scary as you've done it once.
Yeah.
You see?
I think I explained it probably a little bit wrong, because I know what you're saying. Like, I'm always so excited when I come off. Like, I'm definitely, but I was meaning it in the sense, and maybe this is just one example I found one time, where there was multiple speakers at an event, and obviously we were going up and doing our speech and coming off, and I just noticed that some of them, like afterwards when I was then commenting on their speech or something, they had no idea of anything that just happened. That's what I was thinking of. It seemed very like disconnected. Like they were incredible, but it's almost like they went up and like an out of body experience, you know, but without them consciously aware of it. And that was all I was, but again, that's very, you know, certain example. But I agree, like I am always like I love it, but also I fear it at the same time. It's such a polarity that exists together that you think shouldn't. And something that you really touched on earlier, which I think is really important, because I just had another guest about this, of grief and joy actually existing at the same time, because I think she actually explains this beautifully, and you've touched on it as well, of often we have this guilt attached to not being able to feel happy when we should be sad, or, you know, and I think that too is a really important talk, that, you know, again, back to what you said, we are human, we're having this experience, because I think I always think back to the example of a child, you know, a nervous child that laughs when they're being told off, and I'm not saying, but I always think of that, of like, we almost get that told out of us, that that's such a bad thing. So I don't know if it then subconsciously develops, because, oh, in this moment right now, I have to look like I am this emotion because this emotion is inappropriate. But their body and their reaction is naturally wanting to do that. Because I remember that there was a time, and and say someone told something sad, because I felt like I was going to cry. This is as a really small child, because I was trying to protect my tears from coming. I would laugh because of the nervousness, and I would get in so much trouble.
Oh wow, yeah.
And but like now, when you think about it, that's real learning suppression at a very young age.
Yeah, 100%. And that's why we shut down so many of our emotions, and we can't emotionally regulate, because as children told to sit down, be quiet, don't cry, big boys don't cry. You know? So all of that, they start to shut down parts of themselves, and that all harbors in the body and in the nervous system. And so you know, that's why we've seen such an explosion, I think, of somatic work or breath work and things, because it hasn't worked.
So just because I'm intrigued, because you brought up somatic, and just as an example, like, it could be anything that you think of, but just because I've had a brief experience of this with one of my friends previously. But so obviously you mentioned, so say we say about the people pleasing, and often it's in the throat and things like that. There's different areas usually that come up, and I think you said the gut. So what would be like an example, just any example of the type of somatic work that you would do with a client, just as a little taster of what they might experience?
Well, as a little taster, I mean, it might involve, I mean, it's quite vast, really, because we look
That's why I know it's a hard question to ask you, sorry.
It's all right.
And it's always, I guess, personal to the client as well, and the process you're doing.
Yeah, exactly. So I do use somatic body and somatic breath work. So that is, and somatic means to feel through the body. And so looking at the breath pattern is very important, like how someone is breathing, because the breath is like a mirror to your life, like how you're living life, and the parts of you that sort of where you've shut down, where you're armoring, you'll start to see that in the breath pattern, where bracing patterns are held and things like that. So that's a really powerful way to see, and then, like, with some of the work that I do and identifying the different archetypes, is kind of just seeing where their nervous system state is, where their pattern is, and then it might be through some movement, through some kind of fascial unwinding. I've created these somatic resets, like 15-minute somatic reset, just to open up the body specific to the different patterning that we spoke about. Like with people in overdrive, they're very like clenched in the jaw, their bodies are rigid, you know, so they need more of an unwinding pattern. So we'll might work with that. And then with the breath is to release those tension patterns through the hands-on kind of acupressure with the breath, conscious connected breath. And then someone with maybe more people pleasing, we might be working more with like releasing around the throat, so movements around the neck and opening around the jaw, and then hands-on actual palpitation around the throat and the neck to move stuck emotions. A lot of stuckness happens around here, and then it's also the coaching element, which is looking at the root cause of that, where are these patterns coming from, and how are they showing up in your life, and then reprogramming that, and particularly in business, and then sort of coaching those blind spots to make the conscious change in life.
Absolutely, thank you so much. And one thing that just really came to mind was this was particularly like when I was a lot younger, and when I didn't speak my truth as much. And I noticed I always used to have tonsillitis, and I always used to lose my voice, which is ironic, the opposite to what I really wanted to do, because I almost was suppressing it, but then I was losing it And so would you say, I just felt like that was important to mention, is for some people, not saying now if anyone's listening like, oh, okay, but I think this is an important indication that your body's trying to show you. And I think often, you know, we aren't, and I definitely was not aware of all this at this time. This was very much go to the doctor, get antibiotics. I'm not saying this is the wrong way, but I always suppressed even further, and then guess what? It was a loop, it was a pattern, it kept emerging. And I just kept going, you know, carrying on, waking up, I'm not unwell, keep going. So I think just for people listening, if you're curious and you're questioning and you're you know, sending a message, reaching out costs nothing, but it could bring so much transformation into your life. And I know at that point I would have gone through a lot less antibiotics and years of lots of not kindness to my throat. So and obviously that doesn't mean then that you should just go and express anything any way you want, and, you know, be mindful, but equally share your truth. You have a voice to use it, and there's a reason, and there's ways we can always say things that are still for the highest good of everyone, and with kindness and compassion. So thank you so much. You've been an incredible guest, and I know and I know people will reach out, but even if they have just watched this, I very much have I feel very blessed to have had this conversation with you, and I know it's going to really help so many people. So keep up the incredible service that you are creating to people, and thank you so much for being an incredible guest.
Thank you. It's been amazing to be on with you, Shel. Great questions. I've enjoyed it.
You're welcome. And just before you go, it doesn't have to be related to anything we've just said. If there's something you feel like someone listening right now would really benefit from hearing, what would you tell them?
I would say, especially at this time in the world, getting into your body, being in your body is one of the most important things you can do right now, because your body will be your anchor to ground you through challenges, through intense times on the planet, and we are going through a massive shift. So to be in your body is going to also, you know, you call your energy back to you, right? So it's about also being in your sovereignty, coming back into coherence, coming back in and connecting with that God power within you, which has been tried to shut down for a long time.
Absolutely. Wise words. Thank you so much. And thank you for being an incredible guest, and much love to you, and keep shining.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's the magic that Zest is in.